Hey guys, Chris here with The Good Old Gamer. So today we're going to talk about a little bit different topic. We're going to take a look at gaming culture kind of holistically. And the reason for this is in the last video, I went ahead and basically put my 2 cents on GPP and basically what's going on out there. And a lot of the comments are very divided. There's either one camp or another. And the PC gaming market, more than even consoles, even though that's pretty well divided too, definitely feels more fractured than at any other point in the history of PC gaming. I can't remember another time when the vitriol on both sides has been so strong. So I wanted to sit down and think about this. So after that video, I took a lot of time and I took myself out of it. I took my opinions out, my feelings, my thoughts, and I wanted to look at the situation holistically. And it started when I realized that when I was a kid, if you saw somebody walking around, an older gentleman walking around with a superhero t-shirt on or a gaming t-shirt on, there was really only one or two reasons why that was happening. Either one, they had a kid and they gave them that shirt as a present for Father's Day or whatever. Or the second thing is they were just kind of weird. And that was the difference in the culture back then. Things have changed, obviously, over the years. I actually wear shirts like this to work now. And it's perfectly acceptable. There's many other people doing it. And this changed about 10 years ago. And I think that's because gaming became a lot more mainstream, especially around the time that Call of Duty and Halo 3 and things like that really started exploding. A lot of people got into gaming that weren't into it, earlier on. I went ahead and posted a poll asking when you guys got into gaming, just to kind of get an idea of where the audience that I'm speaking to actually lies. Because I started gaming in the 80s when I was a kid. I got a Nintendo when I was 3 years old, and that was back in 1987. So ever since then, I've been gaming as things have progressed. And I've noticed that the culture as a whole has changed rather dramatically over that time. And the main factor that I think has contributed to this is the fact that gamers are getting older, and it's more acceptable to be older and in gaming. So what this is doing is this is splitting the market. You have younger people, younger gamers, and then you have much older gamers that we didn't have back then, or at least they weren't very prevalent. And this is what I think leads into the major divide between Intel and AMD, or Nvidia and AMD, is because we're getting to the point where there are premium gamers, like legitimate premium gamers at this point. And for a lot of us, me especially, I just haven't moved on to that as kind of my way of thinking, but a lot of people have. To go ahead and demonstrate this, I went ahead to the Bureau of Labor Statistics here for the United States, and I went ahead and just wanted to see what the average salary was for people in different age ranges. So what I did is I took the median weekly earnings and factored it into basically annual earnings. That's what these numbers are here. Now, these are just averages throughout the United States in the fourth quarter of 2017. So these are pretty new numbers. So between 16 and 19 years old, the median annual salary on a 40-hour week would be about $23,000. You get a little bit older, between 20 to 24 years old, jumps up to about $29,000, just under $30,000. However, we go up one age bracket, 25 to 34 years old. That's a pretty big jump, but we also see a massive increase between 35 and 44 years old is another large increase up to about $50,000. From 20 to 24 and 25 to 34, that's about a $10,000 bump. And then between 25 to 34 and 35 to 44, we have another $10,000 bump. And this is about the max. It goes up a little bit more. 51,000 average is the highest. Now, I'm right on the cusp. I'm going to be turning 34 this year, so I'm right in between here. And it's correct. My income has gone up over the years. And these brackets are more representative of my income now versus 5 to 10 years ago, which, yeah, this was more representative. So for me personally, these numbers are a real reflection of the income range that I was in growing up. And that's where I think these income differences are really one of the key factors that a lot of people don't really think about. As gamers are getting older, especially people about my age, we have more disposable income. We make more money versus, 5 to 10 years ago, like I just said. So we're getting into our peak earning years. So something like the Titan X or a Titan V, which would have been nowhere near possible. We wouldn't have been able to afford those 5 to 10 years ago. Nowadays, if we wanted to, we could. And this is really where I think the red versus green argument hasn't really been made. NVIDIA is very clearly targeting the premium luxury audience, people that have the disposable income and want a premium feeling product. You can just look at the way that they demo their new released video cards. These look like high performance, cars. This is the way that they advertise these things. Now, AMD does not do that. So they don't have the reputation of having that premium quality, that BMW feel like NVIDIA does. And because AMD hasn't really embraced the fact that gamers are getting older and they have more money, they aren't really targeting that particular market. This has been said about their reference cooler. Now, I can't remember who said it, but I remember when RX Vega came out, they tore down the GPU. I believe it was Gamers Nexus. And they basically just said that the build quality of the AMD graphics cards, their reference cards, just don't ooze premium. They don't have a premium feel to them. Whereas the NVIDIA cards, they feel like a premium product. You're paying more, you're getting something great. Whereas with the AMD cards, it feels more like that they're just getting by, putting enough in there to keep the price as low as possible. And I think that's one of the biggest divides that a lot of people don't really realize, is the fact that just that image of a premium product instantly means that it's worth more money. And I think that's the key factor that I've been missing and that a lot of people just really haven't been paying much attention to. And I think that's the reason why we see that argument all the time that, hey, until AMD can compete or this and that, it's because more people are getting into that higher price bracket. Now, I showed that only 0.39% of people have 1080 Ti's, but the majority of those people are probably the older gamers, the people that are in that $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Spending $700 at that income level is not as hard as it is at like a $23,000 level income. You have more money, you can spend more money. That's just the way life works. And it's manifesting itself in the red versus green argument all the time. And like I said, the same thing can be said for AMD versus Intel. Intel has that premium feel to it, mostly just because of the way that they market and their price points. I honestly think if AMD comes out with a really strong product, maybe it doesn't even beat whatever their competitor is, either on CPU or GPU side, but if they market it as a really premium product and throw a really huge price tag on it, which they kind of tried with the Frontier Edition, they just didn't do a great job marketing it, but I feel if they actually marketed it properly, that could change their image. Now, it's not to say that one company's products are technically better than the others. Now, AMD has some good products on the CPU side, Intel has some good products on the CPU side, and NVIDIA's got great GPUs on the GPU side, AMD has great GPUs on the GPU side. But the visual mentality of it all comes down to marketing and optics, and that's something that AMD really isn't addressing properly because I don't think that they realize the market has changed. We're looking at people that can now afford Jaguars and BMWs. These are people that really have a lot of influence in the PC gaming community. If you look at the people here on YouTube, most of us are in our 30s or 40s, at the very least in the late 20s. You don't see too many decently reputable YouTubers in their early 20s or late teens. It's typically people that are a little bit older. The reason for that is people at that age range typically hold more weight. There's a reason why we don't allow somebody to run for president unless they're 35 years old. They have more life experience, and typically they have more working knowledge of things compared to younger people. This is just the way things have been done forever. So I think that that's a key component that a lot of people are really missing. It's less about who's doing what at the end of the day. It's more about marketing, optics, and things like that. The target audience. That's really what it is I think that AMD is missing out on the proper target audience. And because of that, only the really hardcore enthusiasts that really look deep into things actually notice the true value and true worth of things because they, that's their passion. They look into this stuff. Most people rely on the media and they rely on advertising to help guide their purchasing decisions. Now, granted, that's not the best way ever to go. It's always better to look into things, but let's be realistic, that's the way the world works. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think the changing landscape and the gaming culture, since it is getting into an older demographic, do you think that that's changing things up? Do you think that these companies maybe should have two sets of marketing divisions, one for premium, high level, and then more budget friendly? We've seen it tried, but for the most part, everybody focuses only on the premium products because they're not really marketed properly that way. Intel's probably the only one who's done really well, and that's separating the HEDT from their mainstream platform. Now, AMD does have Threadripper, and they're starting on that front, but I don't think that they're really marketing that towards the premium gaming experience, because that's not what it delivers. NVIDIA definitely has it down with their Titan class. That's for your upper echelon, and then obviously your 1080 Ti's and stuff like that. That's kind of your right about there. You don't want to spend upper echelon prices, but you want near performance. So I think they've done very well with that, and I think that that's really where AMD needs to start focusing. Spend more money. If it costs $200 on just building the heatsink, charge $1,000 for it. Charge $1,500 for it. Imagine if AMD came out with something that did beat, let's say Vega did beat the 1080 Ti by even 10%, but they charged $2,000 for it, but it looked super premium and it was marketed as the best thing ever. I think that would have had a better impact than the way that they went about it. Now, granted, they did not beat the 1080 Ti, but had they invested more money into more premium components, or maybe fabbed instead of at Global Foundries and fabbed a few of them at TSMC, maybe made them more competitive, I think that that's really where they need to go. They need to just focus on the premium, and then it just trickles down, because everybody sees what the PCMR, you know, people like myself and Linus and Jay and all these guys have, and they kind of want a piece of that. That's why, like, you see 1060s selling better than the RX 480s when both were regularly available at or near MSRP. That's just my thought. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think this is a piece of the puzzle that most people aren't picking up on? Is this something that you think that all companies out there should be aware of? Do you think that this is a market that should be specifically tailored to? I think that that's something that NVIDIA is doing, but we just haven't really realized it. Well, alrighty guys, I'm still going to be doing that live stream on Sunday. I just wanted to get this out there. I was thinking about this today and wanted to get you guys feedback. But that's all I have for today, and I will catch you guys on Sunday.